He was given a
had their backs against the wall. German U-boats were sinking American supply ships at an alarming rate, 800,000 tons in July of 1942 alone. The key to security and to freedom lay in the air. Henry J. Kaiser, famed industrialist and shipbuilder, boldly proposed a fleet of giant flying boats. Impossible, scoffed the critics. Nothing that big will ever get off the ground. Kaiser was not dissuaded. There was one person who could get Kaiser's scheme airborne. Who was this man? An immensely wealthy entrepreneur, a Hollywood producer, a record-holding pilot, and an aviation designer. His name, Howard Hughes, a man who excelled at making the impossible possible. In 1942, shipbuilder and aviator combined forces. The new Kaiser Hughes Corporation landed an $18 million government contract to design and construct 3 prototype flying boats, each capable of carrying 750 troops. Since no hangar was large enough to accommodate this mammoth task, Hughes ordered a special hangar built at the Hughes Aircraft plant in Culver City, California. A skilled team of engineers immediately set to work. At first, a twin-hull aircraft was considered, but was abandoned in favor of a single-hull flying boat with 8 3,000 horsepower engines and a wingspan 20 feet longer than a football field. Ever the consummate professional, Hughes personally directed the design team. Extensive testing with models ensured that the flying boat would be both aero and hydrodynamic. Hughes also flew other seaplanes as part of the testing program. Due to wartime shortages, the War Department forbade Hughes from using metal. Undaunted, Hughes proposed another solution: wood. Choice birch, strong, sturdy, resilient, was laminated and applied by way of a bonding process called Duramold. The flying boat took on a glassy, hard sheen to reduce drag. Delays dragged on interminably. Working with the wood, the birch body, spruce spars, and balsa wing floats was a complex process. Hughes further complicated the construction by personally approving every detail. Hughes finally prevailed. In July of 1946, the flying boat took its first step, the 28-mile trek from Culver City to Terminal Island in Long Beach Harbor. All along the route, engineers tested the roadbeds to assure that they could withstand the weight of each of the flying boat's heavy sections. Utility crews lifted more than 2,000 power lines so the caravan could pass. Schools recessed for the day, and a crowd of more than 100,000 lined the route to view this giant on parade. Since the war had ended, criticism of the project mounted as cost-conscious politicians tried to cancel the project. Even Henry Kaiser had pulled out. But in a dramatic move, Hughes promised to pay for the cost overruns out of his own pocket. Far from Washington, the Hughes team labored to assemble the flying boat in the Long Beach dry dock. But the government wasn't finished with Hughes. A Senate investigation committee headed by Maine Senator Owen Brewster probed alleged misappropriation of funds for the Spruce Goose, as it was known to its detractors. The committee further accused Hughes' PR aide, Johnny Meyer, of lavishly entertaining Colonel Elliott Roosevelt, whose father, FDR, had personally intervened to save the flying boat. The Senate proceedings irked Hughes, who felt unjustly singled out for a practice that was common in the aircraft industry. The committee turned up the heat. The question arose, where was Johnny Meyer?
Will you bring Mr. Mars in at the 2 o'clock session?
No, I don't think I will.
Will you try to bring him in?
Oh, I don't think I'll try. I put the sweat of my life into this thing. I have my reputation rolled up in it, and I have stated several times that if it's a failure, I'll probably leave this country and never come back, and I mean it.
Hughes was vindicated. Immediately, he ordered the flying boat to be readied for taxi tests. On November 1st, 1947, the plane was floated out of dry dock and towed into Long Beach Harbor. High winds and choppy seas postponed the first test. The next day, the winds died down. Hughes was ready. A crowd of expectant observers and newsmen waited for the big event. The 8 engines kicked on, and the crowd cheered. With Hughes at the controls, the giant flying boat glided smoothly across a 3-mile stretch of harbor. First at 35 miles per hour, then at 90 miles per hour. Eager newsmen filed their stories, but they were too early. Hughes wasn't finished. Catching the media and crowd unaware, Hughes taxied a 3rd time, this time with lowered wing flaps. The giant plane lifted gracefully into the air for a 1-mile flight at an altitude of 70 feet. Hughes' comment to the astonished newsmen, "I like to make surprises." The giant seaplane was never to fly again. At Hughes' insistence, she was kept secluded, and for a while flight ready in a specially built climate-controlled hangar. Shrouded in mystery, she remained in tune for 33 years at a cost of $1 million a year. The march of time caught up with the flying boat. The hangar's lease ran out. Plans called for her to be cut into pieces. But the Rather Corporation, along with the Aero Club of Southern California and Suma Corporation, stepped in to save her. In October of 1980, the flying boat emerged from seclusion into the glare of the world's spotlight. Herman the German, the world's largest floating crane, lifted her onto the dock. What was expected to take only a few hours took almost 2 days. Finally, she made it to her temporary quarters. In February of 1982, a permanent site was ready. The flying boat was floated on a barge down Long Beach Harbor, then gently eased into its new domed home adjacent to the Queen Mary. Now, for all the world to see, stands the proud flying boat, the biggest and mightiest airship of all time. She is a monument to the pioneering spirit of aviator Howard Hughes. the man who made the impossible possible.